If you're not tuned in to the UFC's welterweight division this weekend, Gilbert Burns, Sean Brady, you are missing out. This is where narratives are built to craft the lore of one's career right here. You have the up-and-coming prospect, Sean Brady. Some say he was fraud checked by Belal Muhammad, the current champion of the division. And then you got Gilbert Burns, who's looking to make one final title run. Again, folks, this is what stories are made of, and this is what we're here to break down. Welcoming me, as always, my co-host, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ. We took the last month off. Of course, we've been giving the picks, we've been dropping them on the community post, but we have been off. We're ready to get back in action. How are you feeling, brother?
Not only ready to get back in action, Derek, craving to get back here in this seat and give these good people some well-earned bets, man. This is going to be a fun weekend. Back at it. Like you said, Derick Burns back again. Sean Brady. This is going to be a fun weekend. And not only them, fight card stacked, brother. I am excited to be back.
And I can't lie, we had a little bit of lull. AJ, you got to admit, we had like a little lull. There were some cards that a lot of people were questioning. They're like, what are we getting right here, man? Like UFC, I get it, ESPN deal. You got to fulfill your contracts, but let's get some high quality fights here. And I think the schedule is turning right back around. Let's not forget the Sphere card, Noche UFC coming right around the corner. We got a lot to talk about, folks. But since we're doing this a little bit unconventionally, no bet recap because the last show that we did was, a month ago or whatnot, we're going to jump straight into the goods. This is the TLDR, aka this is the UFC Vegas 97 bet sheet right here. We don't got a lot to explain for you guys because you can see it right here. So if you want to take a screenshot, run to your local sports book and cash your bets, please do. Our only request is, of course, drop a comment. Let us know how we did for you on the bounce back right there. But with that being said, I'll give you guys a couple more moments to take a look here, and then we will jump into things. AJ, really quickly, just while people are taking their screenshot, give us a thought on the consensus picks that we got running here. We do it every single go around. We got Silva, we got Garcia, and we got Padilla. Those are the UFC Vegas 97 consensus picks. What's the theme?
Theme for the consensus picks, Derek, is a little bit of a new blood into the scene, a little bit of invigoration, if you will, into the UFC dynamic. All three of these fighters are bringing in exactly that, and not only that, but heat as well.
I like that. Vigor as well, right? Bringing in life energy. This is what we're talking about, folks. All right, screenshot time is over, folks. We got some bonus plays coming at you if you stick around, and the explanation, the context, so you know what to do. But it's time for our main card breakdown, baby. Let's get into the goods. We back. Let's go.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Oh, how it feels good to be back. And we're starting off with the banger. Straight away, no nonsense. Derick Burns versus Sean Brady. Number 6 versus number 8 in the UFC's welterweight division. As you can see, the open was a pick'em, AJ. So that's going to be the first question that I have for you before anything else. Again, narratives, storylines. Yeah, Burns at the twilight of his career looking to make the final title run. You got Sean Brady, who, again, some say he was fraud checked, but when you get fraud checked by the current UFC champion, we don't call that a fraud check. That just was what it was. Being a pick'em at open, I'll talk to you about what the line is currently right now, but what are your thoughts off that?
Man, it was interesting when I saw this one. I think it was like Tuesday, Wednesday or something. It shows to me that Gilbert Burns still has the respect of a lot of the UFC fans out there, the odds makers, whoever's looking at this guy. He still has the respect that he used to have or that he used to deserve going into this. I don't think anything has really dropped off, but it's interesting to see that in the day and age of what have you done for me lately, Sean Brady came in as an even right here, where I would expect him to have been the favorite going into this matchup. Especially, I mean, you get fraud check, like you said, by the champion. Not much of a fraud check. We've seen Sean Brady show up, and especially against Calvin Gastelum, looked great. So it's interesting to me that they're both opening up as even odds.
Who has Gilbert Burns lost to, right? If you look at the last two, Jack Della Maddalena, a real up-and-comer right there. Belal Muhammad, current champion. Prior to that, Khamzat Chimaev, which was a very close fight, and then Kamaru Usman. And I think that all goes to show is that the level of competition has been incredibly high. No knock on Sean Brady, but the toughest test that he has to date is Belal Muhammad, and he lost the fight. Dominating Calvin Gastelum is awesome, but this is a matchup of styles that we need to talk about right here. So what kind of tape did you watch in preparation for this one, man? I watched a lot of Sean Brady versus Court McGee, right? Gilbert Burns versus Belal again. Gilbert Burns versus these wrestling heavy guys, the Chimaev fights. And what you see a lot is that he can't particularly dictate the wrestling when you got another really good wrestling prospect in front of you right here. I personally believe Sean Brady has some of the best grappling in mixed martial arts currently, like in the UFC. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be willing to take the first shot. And if no shot gets taken, does this literally turn into Burns versus Chimaev all over again? What do you think?
That's exactly what I was looking at, Derek. Who's going to be able to dominate in that wrestling or in their both of their comfort zones, right? Who's going to be the one to be able to step into that position and dominate the fight? I personally see this as one of those fire versus fire match, and we might end up with a Gilbert Burns versus Khamzat Chimaev #2. And if it does go down to that, man, Brady does have some power in his hands, and it makes it more interesting to me because of how much, or I guess the ability of each fighter is to be able to mix it up in that chaos. I think this is going to be a very interesting fight that isn't going to go the way of just a submission rolling around in a washing machine style fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, man, because on one hand, I like Gilbert Burns' hands better than I like Sean Brady's hand. Sean Brady does have like some technical striking. He does have big power, but we saw it in the Bilal Muhammad fight too. You don't really want to be going backwards if you're Sean Brady. And Gilbert Burns can do that to you. So when we talk about the stylistics, we got to start talking about the actual numbers at hand right here. I said that this opened up as a pick'em. It is no longer a pick'em, AJ. We're looking at minus 185 for Brady, and we're looking at plus 155 comeback for Derick Burns right here. And I think a big part of what this comes down to is what does the fight look like post rounds, 3, 4, 5, which if we're talking about that open right there, let's go ahead and let's talk about the over and under. The over and under on this fight is 3.5 rounds. Minus 160 is the over, plus 130 is the under. I think there's a pretty clear favorite right there. What are you rocking with?
I'm rocking with the over, Derek. It makes a lot more sense to me. I think both of these fighters are going to come in a little more cautious, as the fight progresses, then you'll see them kind of pick it up. But I do think a lot of them, especially with the losses they've had in the past, they're going to look for ways to be more advantageous and then find those openings and not necessarily put themselves in danger.
And even though it's no longer a pick'em, I still kind of view this one as a pick'em. You have experience versus youth, vigor, pure grappling. And when it comes down to that, I'm just going to give you my overall X factor if you're like, I'm still undecided on this matchup. In my opinion, for the ones who are tailing my picks, Sean Brady, once he gets to his bread and butter with the grappling, he is smothering. He can hold you there for the entire round. And even though you got an ADCC competitor like Gilbert Burns, I still do not personally believe that he's going to have the pure grappling to be able to keep that up for 5 rounds against Sean Brady. I think that he's just going to sit there, maul him with the pressure, melt him, cook him a little bit. But that's where it gets interesting with the judging, because if Gilbert Burns could land a couple of big shots and do better in the damage perspective, scoring kind of goes out the window. So for my initial play right here, I like Sean Brady. I like the over 3.5 rounds. I'm not calling a decision or a finish right here, but what I am saying is that's the ticket to play Sean Brady for those who are backing my picks. AJ, I know you are dissenting a little bit on this one, so plead your case, my friend.
Dissension in the ranks, Derek. I'm rocking with the Doreen Fro, man. Gilbert Burns over here. And I'm honestly, for the same reasons, Derek, you were saying, brother, I think Gilbert Burns is going to be able to mix things up, have the bigger moments in the fights, and be able to find those moments that get the oohs and the ahs and the points from the judges. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to get a finish, or like you're saying, I don't necessarily think this one could even bet on decision either, but I do think Gilbert Burns is going to be able to have more of the moments that turn more ears up and turn more eyes to him, and that's what I think is going to get him the fight right here. I'm also rocking with that over. I like that over prop, man. 3.5 makes all the sense of the day, but again, if you're tailing me, Gilbert Burns.
Well, there is your main card picks right there. You got it, folks. May the best man win. And with that being said, we move right on to the co-main event. Bate Estaca, Jessica Andrade versus Natalia Silva. Again, very similar to the main event where you have kind of the Twilight fighter, Jessica Andrade versus Natalia Silva, who everybody, I think it's very clear, everyone is saying by a long shot, most exciting female prospect that we've had in quite some time, at least in the women's flyweight division. Disregarding Manon Fiorot and Erin Blanchfield and stuff like that. New stuff. All right, man. Jessica Andrade coming off of a very, very big, back-to-back victories. Mackenzie Dern and Marina Rodriguez. A couple of years ago right there, those are 2 wins that are enough wins to get you a championship fight right there. Of course, not going to happen, but you get a very, very tough prospect on your hands right here. Really quickly, before we jump into the numbers and stuff like this, man, we might touch on this a little bit later in the news and notes, so a little foreshadowing. AJ, have you heard about any of the stuff going on with Andrade? Manager embezzled some money from her. Now she's got to fight a ton to try to get back kind of like retirement savings, stuff like that. Have you heard anything?
Damn, no, I haven't heard any of that, Derek. I'm slacking over here, brother.
Yeah, so we'll cover it a little bit later. Listen, you don't want to get into people's business and whatnot. I'm just more interested in the sense of, okay, you have the veteran where they're probably saying yes to fights that maybe they wouldn't have said yes to if the circumstance wasn't what it was. So with all of that being aside, Jessica Andrade is hungry. She doesn't just want a fight right here. You know that she wants that double paycheck, right? She wants the win bonus. She wants a performance bonus, the whole nine. It's going to be interesting because Natalia Silva, man, she's been kind of running it. Known as a finisher, coming off of back-to-back decision victories, but Andrea Lee, good win. And then Viviane Araújo. That leads me, I think this is a perfect step up in competition right here. So when you see the line open, what did you see Andrade being an underdog against Silva? Were you surprised? Did you see it as fit? What'd you think?
I think it makes absolute sense, Derek. Again, this is very much the time of what have you done for me lately? And lately, Natalia Silva has been a firecracker, brother. She has been on the road or on the move up. And yeah, as she was a finisher before, now you're hitting the UFC where you have a little bit harder competitions. She's still getting the decision victories. But what I like about it is she's still staying entertaining, right? She's still having the elusiveness. She's still having that flow. She's making these fights look very pretty, look very fluid, if you will. That's why I like her in this one. And it makes sense why she's the favorite going into this.
Question, though, right here. Can Natalia Silva win this fight against Jessica Andrade on the back foot?
No. That was the one note I had, Derek. She cannot dance around on the bike, on the corner of the cage, skirting around in order to win this fight. She needs to fight off the front foot.
But that's how Jessica Andrade won her fight against Marina Rodriguez, right? Is pure domination, walking you down, right? Natalia Silva, she won her last fight against Viviane Araújo exclusively off of the back foot, even with Araújo trying to wrestle her up and do the whole nine. So that's what I was really looking at when I watched that fight back. And I was like, okay, Andrade, you know the game plan is super simple, right? It's get in your face and throw hammers. Now that money is a little bit down. And listen, man, I don't know her situation. Like, this is all speculation, the articles that you read, but you would think she's trying to be a little bit more smart. So all the times we would plead and we would beg and we'd be like, Andrade, your jiu-jitsu is sick. Why don't you use more wrestling? Why don't you use more jiu-jitsu, right? And it was all hammers. I think we start to see it mixed up a little bit. Only difference is Silva is slick, man. I think she got a major speed advantage. I think her takedown defense is really good. Just grappling defense in general is really good. So I'm not super surprised to see that the line has shifted heavily, man. Minus 320 favorite for Silva, plus 250 for Jessica Andrade. Cat out the bag. Natalia Silva is the consensus pick. We'll explain to you why. But AJ, just from a pure value perspective, do you see throwing $20 on Jessica Andrade at over plus 250 odds right there? Like, you have to take that shot just off of a pure experience play for Andrade to go on a 3-fight win streak and play spoiler against the up-and-comer.
Absolutely, Derek. And the way, the styles of this one, right? Andrade the bulldog versus Silva being the elusive, kind of skirting around the side of the octagon. It only makes sense that Andrade, at least technical wise or on paper wise, is going to be the one that's more likely to win this fight, right? Aggression always dominates. She's going to get in there. She's probably going to do more damage than Silva. But, man, I mean, it's hard to say. So that's why I really I think this one is a lot closer than these odds makers are betting it. So I would not be surprised if Andrade can pull this fight out. We've seen her do crazier things, especially with the power that she packs. So absolutely throw a couple down on that. What was you say, plus 250 all day long.
Plus 250. And here's the thing as well. When I'm looking at just kind of like the props right here, there's two props that I'm interested in. We're going to cover one of them a little bit later in some bonus plays. But for Natalia Silva, plus 285 TKO. Now, you might be saying TKO against Andrade, hold on, pump the brakes, right? I'm thinking Yan Xiaonan versus Jessica Andrade. I'm thinking Andrade is just trying to play the bully, gets caught on the back foot. It just happens, right? Something to think about. On the other hand, plus 450 TKO for Andrade. Bro, like, come on. You got a path to victory, and that's like one of the main paths to victory. Plus 450, maybe it's probably better just taking her as a plus 250 dog for whatever happens. But there's a little bit of juice in my opinion, or am I crazy? What do you think?
No, there's absolute juice there, Derek. And the crazy thing is if she doesn't get that plus 450 TKO, but she still has the bulldog style. She's still walking Natalia Silva down the entire time, controlling position, even in the clinch, whatever the case is, that plus 550 decision is still on the table for Andrade, which is mind-blowing.
A lot of fun things in play for this one, man. At the end of the day, give me the implication. If Jessica Andrade gets a really big win, I don't think much changes for her. I think she still stays where she's at. She's always in the title picture between two divisions just because, right? But Natalia Silva, this absolutely skyrockets her with a definitive victory, correct?
Oh, 100%. If Natalia Silva can get a finish right here, right, whether it's the plus 900 or the plus 280 TKO, man, that will skyrocket her up. And you were saying before how in the past, Marina Rodriguez and Mackenzie Dern would have got you to the championship. Well, this might be the fight for Natalia Silva. If she can get one on Andrade, that might be the one that actually bumps her up. And we can see some gold or her fighting for gold here in the near future.
Again, narratives. This is what builds stories. This is what builds careers right here. This is going to be a fun one. Again, consensus pick is Natalia Silva. And then one more quick one here for you, AJ, before we move on. Over is 2.5 rounds, minus 160 for the over, plus 130, identical to the main event. Over is the play, correct?
Over's a play all day.
All right, fair enough. One thing you got to do before anything else is you got to give Kyle Nelson respect. The man is only like 30 years old, and over the course of just watching his career, he's kind of been written off. Until recently, right? Until you take a look at the last, 3, Blake Builder. All right, we're not going to count that. That's a win, though. Fernando Padilla, massive victory. Bill Algeo, massive victory right there. So he's coming in hot, looking to go 4 wins in a row. But then you got Steve Garcia, who says, I already got 4 on my record right here, man. Sting Choi, Melky Costa, Nurden Becky, and Chase Hooper, right? So this is really about who's surging, who's going to take the next step. And when I'm looking at career trajectory, I really think Steve Garcia is a massive, massive play here who's coming into his own. But let's not forget, man, let's look at the styles of these fighters. 2 dudes who are willing to bite down on their mouthpiece, step into the middle of the cage, and just see who exits the pocket first. If that plays out 10 times, AJ, how many times does Garcia get it done versus how many times Nelson gets it done?
You know, Derek, I'm gonna go a little closer to even on this one. I'm thinking 6 out of the 10 times, maybe 7. Steve Garcia gets it done. Might be a little biased because I'm from New Mexico, but still, man, I think he has the power and the willingness to step in there. But not only that, the timing and the chaos, man. You need a little bit of chaos when you're in there and both people are just swinging for the fences. Steve Garcia seems to have the luck on his side when he's in that exchange.
I was going to go 7-3. 6-4 is super fair, though. And I don't want to be too high on Steve Garcia and be biased from this perspective, but I like Kyle Nelson more on the take advantage of the over commitment of a Steve Garcia. And I like Steve Garcia for just pure swinging and banging. He's going to get you out of there. You better tuck your chin, right? But this is an MMA fight, AJ. This isn't boxing, so it's a little more complicated than that. Open, minus 150 for Steve Garcia, plus 110 comeback for Kyle Nelson, the Canadian. If you take a look at the numbers right now, hasn't changed much, but it has shifted for Garcia, minus 185 for Garcia, plus 155 for Kyle Nelson. So wrestling, let's just jump straight into it, man. I can see Kyle Nelson doing a little bit of evasion, trying to stay away from the big flurries of Garcia, but I can also see him try to take advantage of a clinch, get him to the ground, and neutralize all of that power, write it out for a victory right there. Where do you see Garcia in the takedown defense standpoint here, in the grappling defense standpoint? Where do you see him? How do you see him holding up?
Honestly, Derek, that's one of the biggest concerns I have for Garcia going into this fight. With the amount of power he throws and the disregard that he's able to put in those kind of fights, man, he's very heavy on his front foot, so he's very susceptible to takedowns, very susceptible to leg kicks. We even saw it in that Stung Choi fight that he just had. You can get tagged up a little bit if you're Steve Garcia overextending on those shots, and that's what's going to leave just a couple holes for Kyle Nelson. And especially if they're going toe-to-toe, I can see the clinch working for Kyle Nelson right here, getting to the back, controlling, and that's one of the big ways that Nelson has a path to victory in this fight.
Yeah, this might make my take look bad right here, like revisionist history, but I definitely think that Kyle Nelson can get an upset win here because of Steve Garcia's willingness to take a shot to give a shot. And I don't know if you want to take one against Kyle Nelson. A full steam overhand from Kyle Nelson it's not good for anybody, right? So I want to rely on Kyle Nelson's grappling to see how this can be a close, interesting fight. But when I take a look at the minus 140 TKO prop for Steve Garcia, it confuses me because I'm looking at 2 different numbers. Minus 140 TKO prop for Steve Garcia, okay. But when we look at the over on this fight, 1.5 rounds, right? And I look at the over, it's plus 145 for the over 1.5 rounds. And if I'm not mistaken, right here, AJ, we got a prop lock that people need to definitely tune into right there. And that prop lock is over 1.5 rounds on this matchup specifically, because I believe Kyle Nelson will not dangerously or not recklessly endanger himself with the flurries of Garcia, to where if a knockout happens, you know, late second round, early third round, if not a decision. So that's my 4D chess right there. I've been thinking about this play a ton right here. I need some critiques. Give me some feedback right here. What are you thinking?
I mean, it makes sense, Derek. The only flaw I can see is that moment of this is our time. This is the guy, especially if you're Kyle Nelson, you're fighting a guy who has all the push, all the surge, all the limelight on him. What's better than going out there and stiffing the dude that everybody thinks is gonna get back at you? Like that right there, it has a lot of time, and especially with the reckless abandon that Steve Garcia places in his fights, that it causes some concern because anybody can get caught. I mean, we just haven't seen it happen yet. And admittedly, Steve Garcia has fought a lot of those people, but they haven't found themselves in the position to catch him yet. Kyle Nelson, man, we've seen him grow up in the UFC. He's a veteran in the game now. He can find himself in those positions.
And where we're banking off of this one, just so I could close the loop on my prop lock, folks, this is not a prop speculation. This is a lock, right? If you take a look at the last real KO that Kyle Nelson has, that was back in 2019 versus Marco Polo Reyes, right? The last one against, Algeo, yeah, he got him, right? But the man never went down. The man was still on his feet, right? So I felt a little jaded by that one. But either way, man, I think this is going to be a fun stand-up affair as long as it lasts. I do have a feeling, man, I think Kyle Nelson is going to try to shoot. And I think that that's going to kind of mix things up a little bit right here. So what's the big play? Garcia is the consensus pick, but what's the value play here?
Value play, Derick, is the prop lock all day, brother. Over 1.5. You were talking about it. That's the value right there. If you're not going for that, folks, I mean, I don't really see much else. That minus 140 TKO, it's a little, as many TKOs as he's getting, it still seems to be a little far-fetched. So I like that over 1.5 all day long.
And I wouldn't even say far-fetched. It's just a matter of if it happens, like how are you cashing in on that one? You might make a little scratch right there, but that's why we just take the over instead. Any love to the decision prop, which is equal on both parts, which is interesting, plus 650 a pop.
I personally know, Derick. I always try not to say no. I try not to be negative on this, but I don't see this one going to a decision unless it's a snoozer. And if it is, Kyle Nelson all day long, because he's going to look to clinch, he's going to look to grapple, and that's where the decision could come into play. I hate saying a snoozer is going to be on the card, especially with Steve Garcia fighting. But if that is happening, that's probably the decision that's going to go down.
No, you're absolutely correct right here, man. Last time Steve Garcia went outside of the second round was against Luis Pena back in 2020, bro, and he lost the fight, right? So this dude likes to finish his work. Now I'll leave it up to the judges. Steve Garcia, that's the play. Take the prop lock over 1.5 rounds right there, folks. All right, moving on up. I mean, this is just the violence fight of the night right here. Trevor Peek versus Yanal Ashmouz, the Red Fox. Apologies if I mispronounced the name, but AJ, I'm really, really excited for this fight because Trevor Peek is an anomaly. He's a man who doesn't do things conventionally, but still can win off of grit and determination and guts. I love it. Ashmouz, on the other hand, is one of my favorite prospects right now who, while young in his MMA career, I think that his last fight, given that that was his first loss of his career, I think it soured his image in the minds of people who are like new watchers versus what I think that he's capable of. So let's kind of talk about it right here, man. Trevor Peek, give me the spiel on Trevor Peek, man. What do you like about Peek?
I love that he's a wild man, Derick, always willing to go to work, has these, like you said, unconventional ways that goes about him, but he still finds a way to do some damage, right? He still finds his way to make his moment in those fights because he's throwing absolute heat and has a powerful right hand. I love the way that Trevor Peek, it's a weird cutoff he has, right? He kind of follows you around the cage, but he has this weird way of just finding enough space that he's able to cut you off. And with his wild man, reckless abandon, it makes you want to engage him in this kind of style of fight. And when you do, in that wildness, in that chaos, that's where Trevor Peek finds his advantages.
You see, it's interesting because Trevor Peek, though it doesn't seem it, I do think he is an educated fighter. And what I mean by that is he's showing improvements from fight to fight. Like he's literally switching up his style, right? So on one hand, he got running, sprinting hammer fists that are going down. On the next hand, he's clinching you up and trying to wrestle a little bit. Like he is absolutely mixing it up. I'm interested to see what the leg kicks are going to look like in this fight because if you have one advantage against Ashmouz is you got to take his mobility away because he's a power fighter, right? You're not going to get a lot of volume from him, from the Red Fox, but you're going to get bombs, spinning attacks, big overhand shots, all the same stuff Trevor Peek is going to throw at you, right? But if someone's legs can get crippled, if you will, right? If you could take away that and you have a standing target in front of you, I think somebody goes to bed here. So before we jump a little bit more into the analysis right here, the over and under, you know what the over is. It's 1.5 rounds for sure on this one. But the over, minus 125, under minus 105. What are you taking?
That's interesting, Derick. Instant thoughts, I'm taking the over on that one. I do think with the styles of how these both go, because they're both put in good pressure, but they have this composed style to them, right? Like very technical. And like you said, even though Trevor Peek is awkward, he still has this technical ability to him where they can find those moments, right? And I think with Ashmouz and how his style works, how I don't want to say low output, but lower output than most, I think this one is going the over.
So I lied to you, bro, and I apologize for that one. Hold on, let me get this pulled up. There we go. 2.5 rounds is what it was. It wasn't 1.5 rounds, which actually does surprise me. I mistyped this one right here. So 2.5 rounds, minus 150 for the over, plus 120 for the under right here. So do you have a reevaluation on that?
I don't like it as much. I'm still taking the over, and I can see why people are going for it. It made me more confident at 1.5. I won't lie. The chaos and the power of both these fighters, I can see some crazy things happening, but at the same point, you can see where fire versus fire again makes a mismatch. I still like the over.
That makes me take a step back really quickly because when I'm analyzing these numbers, man, I look at minus 150 favored it to go over 2.5 rounds, not to a decision, but just to make it past 2.5 rounds. Okay, right on. And then I take a look at the knockout, or excuse me, on the decision props on each, right? Plus 225 for Trevor Peek, plus 285 for Ashmouz. Who's going to win the fight? It's going to be damage based. Unless wrestling really comes to play in right here, which both dudes can wrestle. That's the thing people don't understand. Both of these dudes can wrestle. I mean, why are we looking at a TKO prop that is so high, plus 240, right? Plus 335 for Ashmouz, and the decision prop that look like that? Like, I know I'm not explaining myself as well as I want to, but these numbers don't add up to me. So what do you think?
No, I'm with you, Derek. It doesn't add up because when you look at both of these fighters in a bubble in their own sphere, they're knockout fighters, right? They got big power, weird movement to them, catch people at awkward angles, have that kind of style where it doesn't make sense, but they get the finish, right? And you put them two together, that might be why we're seeing a lower decision prop right here because like we said before, you get the two kind of similar styles of fights. It ends up being something different than we're expecting. That could be a reason why it's going into this. This one's a hard one for me, Derek, because I've been back and forth between who I actually really liked and want to win this fight and who I think is going to win this fight because there is some serious heat behind Ashmouz. But Trevor Peek has this I don't want to say aura, but like an appeal to him that out of nowhere he can get the finish.
That's it. I mean, I think that's on both ends of the fight right there. So all you got to say right here is enjoy the violence while it lasts. Again, this is another one of those consenting picks or contentious, I should say. I'm rolling with the Red Fox, baby. Let's go. That's a dog play. Oh, I forgot to mention if I didn't say it already. Minus 125 for Peak, plus 105 for the Red Fox. Give me the money line dog play on the Red Fox at plus money. And AJ, plead your case, my friend.
We're going with the awkward wild man, Trevor Peek. They opened up at even, but now he's the favorite for a reason, folks. I'm just kidding. This one's actually going to be a very, very close fight. Like Derek said, make sure you don't blink. This one's going to be bloody, and I'm going with Peek.
All right, fair play. Okay, and then to round us off, this is actually a surprising one, AJ. I was surprised to see that this was a consensus pick here. This lightweight contest between Rong Zhu and Chris Padilla, because I thought I was taking a flyer on Chris Padilla. I thought I saw something that people just weren't privy to yet, and that is the potential of Padilla. I think Padilla is really good. This is a dude who's been slept on in the regional scene for a long time, made his way to the UFC, short notice, got the submission victory. Beautiful. We'd love to see it. But this dude, Rong Zhu, no joke, man. Bombs. I think he's got the most knockouts on this card right here. One of your sleepers that you're going to be talking about, I think he's got like the most submissions on the card right here. Like, you pick some good ones here. But when we look at this matchup, I did see one flaw. Even though Rong Zhu does have really good takedown defense and he's got really good anti-wrestling style, I just think if Padilla can get you to the ground right there, the man is a finisher, and you don't want to be on the ground with the finisher, especially when you look a couple fights back and Rong Zhu's been able to get his back taken, controlled, right? I think Padilla takes advantage of that one. So now that I've let the cat out of the bag on that one, let's give it a little bit of a breakdown. First, let's play dissenting pick. What do we like about Rong Zhu right here? I think this kid is a stud, man. This dude is really good. What do you think?
I like the way that Rong Zhu is able to control distance, Derek. Very snappy jabs, and he'll play it at a distance too. He'll keep you at the end of it, and then when you're not expecting, he hits you with a very long right hand. I love the striking of this guy, and especially the counters that Rong Zhu is able to have. His timing and his distance management in the counter game is beautiful, man. On point, and I also like him because he likes to play the game, man. He's a little bit of a showman. He'll smile at you. He'll get you a little animated in there, all to get the fight to where he wants to go. I like him a little bit more of a striker, but he is well-rounded, even though you're saying I see it, man. Gets his back taken. There's some things that need work, but I mean, he's back in the UFC for a reason.
That's right. Exactly. Back in the UFC, had to go do some work, come back and do the thing, right? Which is like respect. That's what you love to see. It's really just a matter of the talent level that you were fighting, right? You know, You fought some guys, right? But were they UFC guys? And I'm not saying Chris Padilla is some established UFC veteran, because he's not. He's still got a lot to prove himself. But again, this is someone who I've been really high on just from like a regional perspective. So if you look at Padilla, the man's got some losses, bro. He went on a 3-fight losing streak, got one back, lost again. But if you look at his last 4, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions, one of those comes in the UFC against James Yontop, who AJ, people don't see it yet, and maybe I'm going to be completely dead wrong on this one, but I'm going to tell you guys right now, I think that Yontop is his name. I think that victory for Chris Padilla is going to age so well over the long term. I think Yontop is going to be such a good fighter. Padilla already got the victory, the finish over him. That goes to show what the new crop of fighters are looking like. So through and through, let's talk some numbers right here. Opening odds, Rongju, he was a favorite, -175, +130. I shouldn't say was a favorite because he's a massive favorite now here, AJ. -245 favorite, +200 comeback for Chris Padilla. So again, this was my flyer right here. I see the odds are swelling, but we need to take a look at which is the 1.5 round over-under. -175 for the over, +145 for the under. I have a feeling that under might come into play. What do you think?
Really? The under, you said it was plus what for the under, Derek?
+145.
For the under, it's crazy. I thought the over gave more benefit to Chris Padilla in this. The longer the fight goes, the more he can get some blood into Rongju's muscles, get him tired, hold him down, beat him up. That's where I think the over is going to come into play. Do you think it's going to be a TKO from the Padilla side or a submission? Is he going to get the finish in the under?
If it goes quick, I think it's another snatch him up submission, like the Yontop fight right there, man. Because when I say Padilla is a finisher, the man is a finisher, right? But like I said, a lot of really good anti-wrestling. So I think it may come into play, but of course it's not a lock, right? I'm more on the pure money line side of Padilla. I'm not worrying about no other props, no other numbers right here. So it's interesting, man, because yeah, Rongju could knock him out immediately. Yeah, that could happen. Padilla could knock him out easily too. It just kind of, if this fight plays out over the course of 15 minutes, and this fight played out 10 times, we're going to do it again. Like who gets the rub right here?
Derek, I mean, instantly off the top of my head, I say Rongju gets the majority of those wins, right? And it's probably just because we haven't seen Chris Padilla being proven yet. I mean, we saw him, like you said, with the Yontop, looked great. Snatch him up finisher, absolutely. But can he do that against UFC's talent? And arguably, Rongju wasn't. But now he's back in, so apparently he has the skills that are able to get that done. So I'm giving him a little bit more of the rub right now, Derek, but don't count me out, man. Chris Padilla is absolutely a live dog in this fight.
All right, we rocking with the taco for the Bloody Water Podcast consensus pick right here. Pure dog play flyer. So that is your warning right there, folks, is to let you know, listen, man, Rongju, yeah, he might get the dub right here, but there's immense value to be had in Chris Padilla. And even if he doesn't get the job done for this fight right here, his stock should be monitored. You should be keeping an eye on this guy. So with that being said, consensus pick, Chris Taco Padilla. That is your main card breakdown, folks. And the fun isn't over right here. We mentioned to you guys earlier, if you stick around, if you watch the context, you get a little bit of an extra treat. We got a couple of bonus plays here for you that we wanted to run down. So this is a new, not even a segment of the program, but this is something that we've always had. We've had some additional plays. We never really wrote them down anywhere. So these are not going to be locks right here. These are going to be plays that me and AJ are going to talk about right now and just kind of see where this stands right here. First one should be an easy one. I wanted to talk about it a little bit more when we were breaking down the fight, but I saved it for this one. Natalia Silva versus Jessica Andrade, for her to win by decision at +100. Squeaked out her last 2 victories. Not squeaked out. I mean, she got very clear victories. Viviane Araujo and Andrea Lee. What's stopping her from making it 3 in a row on a decision, unable to get Jessica Andrade out of there, but still wins the fight? +100 is pure value. You can make immense cash on this one. What do you think?
Absolutely, Derek. And it seems to be this will be the biggest chance for Natalia Silva to actually win this fight. Stay away from the power, stay away from the pressure, just keep staying elusive, get some points on the books, skirt out with a victory.
Fair play right there. I think that one's a banger. So what we want to do is after these ones, we'll award like what's the hottest one of all of those, right? But for now, that's a good one to take a look at right here. I'm interested because this one, folks, is going to be my sleeper here in a second. Amarim versus Demopoulos, under 2.5 rounds at +255. Now, You always want to bet the over in these kinds of fights right here because we just say women's MMA, listen, we're going to take what the odds present us, statistical analysis, whatever. But when you got two jiu-jiteras right here, you got a submission specialist in Amarim and then Demopoulos, who gets a lot of decisions right here, but she's got some sick jiu-jitsu too. You might get two jiu-jitsu people who mitigate each other, right? But you might also see a sub that happens early, right? Someone get put in a bad spot, you get choked out, get armbarred, whatever it is, what it is. What do you see there? Plus 255. Do we like that? What do we think?
This is the best shot for a women's MMA fight to actually get in what you're talking about, Derek. Under 2.5, only 2.5 minutes left in their fight, and you win, right? You don't make it to that mark. So the vast majority of the fight is there to be won at this plus 255. And I like Amarim to be able to finish this one. I don't know if you're leaning one way or the other, but Demopoulos is also, like you said, it has decisions, but she can get the dub here, especially in the early moments when something crazy is happening.
That's right. That monitor that one, folks. That's an interesting one right there. We chatted about this one a little bit earlier, but Gilbert Burns versus Brady over 3.5 rounds at minus 160. We actually already declared this one like damn near a lock right here. So make that an additional prop lock. That's just a Bloody Water podcast prop lock right there, folks. So AJ, you got anything on that one, or we just hit the hammer on that?
No, that's a good one, brother. I'm excited for it. I see this one happening all day, man. Minus 160. So do the odds makers.
There we go. All right. And then Chris Padilla, Taco, we just talked about him to win by submission at plus 600. Again, folks, there's a lot of things that need to go into play to make this happen right here. But what I was more interested, other than anything else, is Padilla being able to take advantage of Rongju's, just being able to get to his back, really. That's really what I'm worried about. So if he can get to the back and if he can sink in the submission, plus 600 is a massive play. Again, I'm sticking with just a pure moneyline dog play. But do you see anything there?
I do, Derek, especially if Chris Padilla can get Rongju to engage in kind of that back and forth style of fight, a brawl a little bit, and then Padilla uses his timing, gets on the inside, holds him down. They can see a submission right here all day long.
All right, folks, those are a couple bonus plays we had for you. Again, you don't get access to these plays unless you'd watch the program. So if you skate out in the beginning, well, wish that was you, huh? No, I'm just joking. All right, AJ, let's declare what's going to be the winner of these plays right here, and then we'll keep it pushing. I'll give a vote. You give a vote. What do you think?
My vote, Derek, I'm going Natalia Silva by decision.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I didn't think you were going with that one. I was going with Burns versus Brady over 3.5. They're locks. They're locks. Come on, folks. We gave you two of them right there. Bet wisely. Choose wisely. Do the right thing. All right, folks. Now, for the most anticipated section of the program, this is going to be the unknowns of today, but the stars of tomorrow. Folks,
it's time for some fight night.
And if you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
oh man, I've been waiting to talk about some sleepers right here, folks. All right, AJ, as I had already mentioned to you, I've already kind of let my sleeper out the bag, but we're still going to break it down here in 1 second. I'm going to let you kick it off, as always, bringing it up on the screen. Take it over, my man. What do you got?
I'm going with last names on this one, folks. And if you're reading it, you can see why. I don't want to butcher the homie's name, but we're going with Ramaska versus Nathan Fletcher, man. This one's going to be a very, very fun fight. We got a 9-2 Ramaska versus an 8-1 Fletcher right here. Combined 16 finishes in their 20 fights, and it's the first fight of the night, folks. We've said it time and time again. Dana White puts these style of fights on for the first one, so that way it can grab your attention, and that's what this fight's going to do. Don't blink. I'm expecting a lot of chaos. I'm expecting a finish. We'll see which way it lands, but a lot of people are loving the Ramada pick.
And a little fun fact for you. This fight got scrapped at the last second for UFC Vegas 96, a medical issue. I forget which camp it came from, so it got rebooked for this one. So these two are familiar, itching, and whoever didn't pull out, is pissed and is looking to get him out of there, man. So that's going to be a fun one. All right, man. And to mine, Jacqueline Amarim versus Vanessa Demopoulos. You got a jiu-jitsu specialist right here, a jiu-jitsu phenom, versus Vanessa Demopoulos, who, listen, man, very controversial. A lot of people think that she's been awarded some split decision victories that she shouldn't have gotten, but a winner is a winner, and she has continued to be victorious right here. 4-1 in her last 5. The biggest thing that you need to know here is that you're not tuning into this for a guaranteed finish. You're tuning into this matchup right here for guaranteed scrambles. If you know anything about jiu-jitsu, I'm your jiu-jitsu guy. I got you covered. If you're not familiar, you're going to see nonstop action and movement from these two unless one gets someone in control, takes their back, and if they take their back, they're probably going to choke them out, to be completely frank with you. So this is going to be a banger. I love me some women's MMA, and this is a spotlight for some very, very talented fighters to shine right here. My only concern right here is truly going to be a cardio situation from the Amorim side. Let's see what happens when we get past 2.5-ish rounds, right? That's why the under, again, come on, we was talking about it. All right, folks, that is your sleeper. All right, AJ, we got another one in us. News and notes, baby. Let's not forget, we still got a part of the program that we need to finish. And given that we've had such a hiatus, a month off from talking about news and notes or what's going on in the MMA landsphere, we're going to go ahead and catch up today. But we don't have a lot to talk about. We're going with quality over quantity today, folks. So let me go ahead and set the table for us, AJ. The first one that I want to talk about here is your boy. This is your boy right here. Your guy, AJ. El Cucuy, Tony Ferguson. Hey, listen, I'm just going to play the clip, and I'm going to ask you a question after.
Hey, check this out, crew. This is Tony El Cucuy Ferguson here. I'm over in Beverly Hills at the Penthouse Suite. I have some very exciting news for you coming at you, so I can't really say too much right now, but there's going to be some big changes going on, so make sure you guys stay tuned. We'll catch you later.
So, AJ, first off, what is your thoughts on somebody who announces something that isn't even an announcement? Like, you just pre-announced an announcement. What was the purpose of this first before we jump into it?
It's to make a plan, Derick. No, I think it's this is very much Tony Ferguson. Probably media person, manager, whoever the case is, just giving us a little taste. You know, always leaving people wanting more. It doesn't make sense. I don't know what Tony Ferguson at all has in the plan. So I guess that's a point, right? Nobody has any idea what he's doing. So who knows what he's going to make? Private jets, maybe a betting app, who knows? But I do love to see El Cucuy still rocking the sunglasses indoors, man. Never dies.
What's the worst case scenario news you find out about this announcement, in your opinion, as a El Cucuy fan?
Man, as an El Cucuy fan, I would say, Tony Ferguson unretiring.
Yeah, you hit it on the head right there, my man. Let me give you one for that one because Tony Ferguson continuing to fight. No. We're staying away from that one. When I saw this, the reason that this is news, you might be like, is this news right here? No, this is not news. The news is Tony Ferguson, very rightfully so, probably should have, called it a wrap a little while ago. And we only say this from the perspective of a man who was on a 12-fight undefeated streak, a man who was cutting and slicing and defeating everybody, who we thought was going to be the guy that could beat Khabib or at least give him a very competitive fight. For the guy who decided to be the pioneer and say, hey, COVID, yeah, I'll take the first fight back in the Apex, whatever. And then Justin Gaethje kind of changed the man's course of his career. Now we just can't get a dub back, but he did the halfway retirement, the last one, right? Where he put one glove in, took the other glove, said, I might be back, so I'm going to hold on to this, right? Overall, man, all best wishes to Tony Ferguson right here, but give me a speculation. What do you think is going to be the outcome? Do you think it's going to be something super random, unfight related?
I think it's going to be like a betting app or something like that, Derick. Something super random, still MMA adjacent, but nothing super crazy, hopefully.
That's it. MMA adjacent. That is your buzzword of the day. All right, AJ, next up right here. You remember this guy, Blagoy Ivanov? First off, respect, man. This dude gave a lot of guys a lot of tough fights right here. But the news that you have here is that he's now signed to the PFL. We already knew that. But he did get banned until 2026 for pissing hot right there. USADA back in action. No more UFC. You thought you can escape USADA. No, sir. So listen, man. 37 years old, you test positive for PEDs, you're going to be on the shelf for a while. Good news, you're a heavyweight, so you could fight till you're like 45 and be fine. It shouldn't be too much of an issue. My question is this. You're seeing a lot of these older fighters go to different promotions, and of course, they're being, listen, you're in a Bellator, you're in a PFL, you're in a whatever, regional promotion, and a lot of these dudes might be on some juice right here. What do you think is going to be the new age isn't the right word, lifespan, if you will, career span for these heavyweight fighters, man? Because we're seeing Andrei Arlovski fight until 45 years old. Like guys like that, right? Is that going to be it? Or will we ever see a 50-year-old fighting in top-notch competitions, like top-notch organizations in the next couple of years? Because technology is getting better, medical care is getting better. I think it's on the table. What do you think?
I think it's on the table, Derick, especially if we have a heavyweight fighter who trains growing up, right? Like you're whenever you want to start, 18, 20, whatever the case is, you're training, but you're not really getting to that level yet where people want to put you in the ring. But about 28, 32, that's when you really start getting it. But you've been juicing, or you've been, in the recovery, right? the CEO, VPO, right? You're taking all the extra stuff that is able to help you recover, get better, train harder, right? All that going on. And then you hit it, right? You're in the UFC at 35, 37. You still have a good 10-year span on you, if not more. And especially with all the years past of never being tested, having all that in your blood, makes a lot of sense that we could see, especially with the advances in medicine, we could see a 50-year-old fighter. Sounds crazy saying it. I'm not going to lie. When you said 50, I was like, no way. But there's some stuff out there.
There's a lot of stuff out there, folks. So something to monitor. We'll see what that lifespan ends up looking like. All right, AJ, what do we got next? Oh, this was news about today's card. OSP versus Ryan Spann off, right? It actually has been moved to UFC 307, which I think that's not the Noche card, is it? It's either the Noche card or the card after, but either way, it got moved right here, man. And it's gonna be it's gonna be fought at Elevation, so I take that back. It's not the Noche card, but the point is here: OSP got sick. It happens. This dude is an OG, right? Disregard the comments, people being blasphemous in the comments. But the point that I want to make here is that I already thought that this was a stay away. OSP versus Ryan Spann. I can no longer bet on Ryan Spann. I'm just staying away at this point. OSP is a guy who we have been betting against him for quite a while, just given another guy who's like, yo, you still doing the thing. Maybe, it's time, right? But OSP versus Ryan Spann at Elevation, I think I like OSP here, bro. What do you think?
It's a brave choice, Derek. It's a brave choice. It really depends. And it's crazy because I feel like OSP is one of those fighters where he can either have what was his performance? Was it against Khalil Roundtree? Too, where he just looked like he didn't want to be there. It might have even been Smith, Anthony Smith, but I can't remember. Either way, there's moments where OSP is fighting and he just doesn't look. Jamal Hill. It was the Jamal Hill fight where OSP just didn't even look like he wanted to be there, man. He was just hands out, kind of taking whatever's coming to him, nothing really crazy. But then he has other fights where he can dominate, and especially with an up and down fighter like Ryan Spann, could happen. It's not far-fetched.
Yeah, and I just took a look at it too. You're right. The Jamal Hill, he got standing TKO'd, where he just shelled up and was like, all right, I'm calling it. Yeah. So we'll see what happens right there. Interesting. So keep that one in mind. It was supposed to take place this weekend, but it is getting pushed. All right, here we are, man. The big drama show right here. Alex Paeta calls out Dricus du Plessis. He says, hey, I'll go down to middleweight. I'll take that belt. Strickland's not the champ no more. So listen, I ain't got no qualms going down there, whatever, be a two-time champ. Dana White's all for it. He's saying, hey, he wants to go up. He wants to go down. We love him, right? But you have everybody else who's also trying to do the same thing. And they're like, are you fucking kidding me? No, stay where you're at. Stay in your division. I'm still not understanding why there is so much allure with I have to go conquer 3 divisions instead of I'm going to be a John Jones and I'm going to reign over the light heavyweight division forever. I'm going to be a GSP, a Jose Aldo, right? Like, I love it. The allure of Paeta, the aura of Paeta, it's fantastic. But come on, bro. There's got to be a stop to this at some point, right?
Absolutely, Derek. It's one, holding up divisions, right? We're seeing less and less talent being able to have the opportunities that could be there. And I mean, Dricus is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. If we had Izzy going back up and down, or the chance Sean Strickland decides he's going to go up and down and do all this stuff, taking out time, Dricus doesn't get the fight, right? There's fighters out there who deserve other shots, and I do think it's a time. I was trying to think of like why are people wanting to jump up and down? Could it be the money? But I feel like Dana White has love for both styles of fighters, man. He's wanting to promote both the John Joneses, who he considers the greatest of all time, and then the other people, the Connors, who are looking to jump up and down. So I don't know necessarily the appeal unless it's just fame, right? Media attention could be a thing. I don't think they're making any extra money off it.
Brother, let's not forget, this is not a career. Dana White said this is an opportunity. Get the cash and run, right? Everyone wants to be Conor McGregor. That's like the one thing. Conor McGregor like shifted the sport monumentally, but he also like ruined the sport because he turned it into entertainment, right? Where he said you have to be the biggest, most like brash type of guy in order to like get asses in seats, and it's respectable. But Paeta, look at him, just by saving the day, doing things in his division, people love him. He's doing things that are ridiculous, right? So all I'm saying is, man, you want to be light heavyweight, just reign at 205, man. You're like 37 years old. Just chill. You're good. Let Dricus come up, whoop his ass there if you can get the victory, right? Because it is a tough fight. And then let's see from there, man. So interesting play. All right, finally, we have to end off with the big one right here, the one I was telling you about. Jessica Andrade sues ex-coach for allegedly embezzling $2 million right here. AJ, I'm not going to get into the the goods, the meat, if you will, because folks, you go check it out, just type this in and you could read this fucking novel right here. It's kind of a lot. But the point is, the gist was lost a lot of money, trusted somebody, authorized them, gave them rights. You get betrayed. It happens, man. They're focused on fighting. They let everybody else, they delegate, and this is delegating gone wrong. My question to you is, man, Jessica Andrade is a pioneer. She fought when there was no money. She's fought now where there is money, right? And still probably isn't getting as much money as she should. Don't get pay-per-view points on these pay-per-views and whatnot, I don't imagine. But the point is, you lose $2 million. Now you're fighting in the twilight of your career to say, I wanted to be the champion again, but now what I care about more is being able to retire and not have to fight in order to pay my bills. I don't want to be one of those respect fighters, legends, but I'm dead broke in the street begging for, money to pay my bills. And I'm not saying that's her case, but this is my question right here. Does this go back into and I don't even want to, this isn't political, but does this go back into we need equitable rights and we need the fighters to be paid this and that? At the end of the day, again, Dana White says it's an opportunity, not a career. Is this you mismanaged your money, sucks for you, or should there be more sympathy at hand? I'm just trying to get the read here.
That's a hard question, Derek, because I see both sides. This is I feel sympathetic for Jessica Andrade, man. Nobody wants to be out $2 million by somebody you trusted, somebody you had in your life, somebody you probably slept on their couch when you needed to. But at the same point, if you don't have a business lawyer, right, somebody looking over contracts that you're signing, that's your fault. At the end of the day, it's like owning your own business. If you're not willing to dive into the minutia of the black and whites of the codes or the contract clause, that's your own fault. And I don't really feel bad that much. I do feel bad that you got hosed, that you're out $2 million. Unfortunately, that is the world we live in. That is America. And sorry.
That's what you call a 1099 contractor right there, right? Yep, it's the way it goes, man. So again, this is not just fighting. This is business. This is entertainment. It's mixed, man. It's the the TKO holding group right there, AJ. Come on, bro. So, folks, didn't want to end with a doozy, but this is just like a good note to remember. Cross your T's, dot your I's, be on top of it. And with that being said, folks, we made it to another outro for a beautiful episode of the Bloody Water Podcast, episode 295. A couple more episodes, we're up to 300, folks. We're ready to make it happen. But what we care about more is making you guys a ton of money. So this is our one ask of the program. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should definitely do that. We are 1,600 subscribers strong here. AJ, what started off as a 0 subscribers, just me and you recording something, we have a militia. We have an army. We are ready to go invade countries. Let's go. So, AJ, take us away as always, my friend.
We got the brigade, folks. We're back at it, man. I'm so excited to be back here, and especially, like Derek said, making you money. Nobody else does it better than we do. We got gold belts to prove it, but more importantly, you got green in your pockets to prove it. So make sure you hit us down below. We love y'all for joining us. Thank you so much, man. It's going to be a fun card, so tune in.
That's it for us. Until next time, folks, catch us next Friday for another great breakdown. Until next time, peace.